But there's a conflict between Dahomey and the Yoruba land. Yoruba land is being invaded by the British, or by this time have been invaded by the British. This is the great burning of Benin and the robbing of Benin and of all of its wealth and art and so forth that we hear about in history, but we don't connect it to nothing, right? But there's a greater Yoruba war going on between the people. And these boundaries called Nigeria, they're not there then, okay?
Right.
They're greater boundaries. People have other kinds of kingdom designs. And there's conflicts between some of these kingdoms, mostly around trade, okay? But you got something else happening at the same time. As the Muslim wars of genocide and ethnic cleansing is taking place in the Nile Valley with the Mamluk Turks and the Seljuk Turks, and then finally the Ottoman Turks by the 9th century and the end of the 9th century, beginning of the 10th century. They're pushing millions of people out of the Nile Valley into West Africa. Y'all hear what I'm saying? They're pushing millions of people out of the Nile Valley into West Africa, in through Chad, in through Cameroon, into Nigeria, down into Ghana. This population, through what is called Burkina Faso, this is the population of the people. Everybody always asks, what happened to the Egyptians? Well, we're talking to each other here right now, okay? Because a great number of those refugees, millions of refugees scattered to the south and to the west, because of the Turkish and the Arab ethnic cleansing that goes on for hundreds of years leading up to the 1400s, are caught as the vulnerable population in what becomes known as the transatlantic slave trade. And I know a lot of us don't go there with that piece, but you've got to understand, who are these people? And so the kingdoms like Dahomey on the coast, somebody coming from the north, that's the northeast, have brought captives that they want to sell to another community because they don't need that expansion in their population. And this group of captives was either hostile to them or refugees that they felt was taking their space away from them. Okay. And that population, most time, that refugee population was least able to defend itself, end up being caught in the trade. And it wasn't a trade at all. It was a war of genocide against African people. There was no transatlantic slave trade. Nobody was trading anything. People were being captured. People were being murdered. People were being raped. Villages were being burned to the ground. Okay? People were being slaughtered to get enough so you could make $200-300 in that day's money, which would be a couple of $1,000s in this day's money, or for one human being to do labor in the Western Hemisphere, where he was worked to death in 10 to 15 years and would be replaced with someone else, a process that went on for 400 years plus.
And we're now very happy to be joined by our next guest, Dexter Caffey, the founder of Smart Eye app, who recently learned of an eye-opening discovery of his own ancient past, all thanks to a DNA test. He is joining us now by Zoom from Atlanta. Hello, Dexter.
Hello, Emily. How are you?
It's so good to see you. Last time was here in Israel. We got to get you back here, but we'll have to settle for Zoom now. You have such an interesting history. Please explain what made you do a DNA test, and then what happened when you found out all of a sudden that you're related to Ramses III.
That's a great question, Emily. Well, about a year and a half ago, I traveled to places like Israel, France, and different places like that. And so what happened was people would always ask a normal question, where are you from? And I would say the States, United States. And the people I saw in France would say, no, where are you really from? And I said, the States. That's all I know. And so that question stuck with me for a long time. And I just said, where am I actually from? I mean, I know I'm American, but where my DNA is from. And so I said, well, let me take my DNA test. It was a 23andMe DNA test. And I took the test, and I was shocked when I saw the results. It came back, and it showed that I was actually a direct descendant of the Pharaoh Ramses III. And I knew nothing of the pharaohs. didn't know much about Egypt, but everything you hear about, Bible stories and things like that. So for me, it was a huge shock, and that's how I found out about it.
Wow. So obviously you took it deeper and deeper. You saw all of these synchronicities in looking at images of the pharaoh, how much you and even your brother look like them. And your own company has like an eye logo that looks like the Eye of Horus, unconnected to any of this. So what did this open up for you in terms of your own knowledge and learning about this?
I remember I was actually laying in my bed on Christmas Day, 2021. And I was going through my 23andMe DNA test, and that's when I saw that I was connected to the Pharaoh Ramses III. And again, I knew nothing of this situation. And so I looked up a sculpture of the Pharaoh Ramses III. And when I saw the sculpture, I literally screamed. And my wife said, Dexter, what's wrong? I said, this guy from 4,000 years ago, we look just alike. And she said, Dexter, wait a minute. There were no pictures from 4,000 years ago. I said, no, his sculpture was the Pharaoh Ramses III. His sculpture, we look like identical twins. And she said, let me see it. She saw it. She said, oh, my goodness. And then I continued to go over different sculptures, looking online. And I saw the sculpture that looked just like my brother. If you could show that on the screen, it'd be absolutely amazing. But it was, and I looked at the sculpture and I said, this looks just like my brother Joe. And I called my brother Joe and I said, I'm going to send you something. And he said, where'd you get that from? It looks just like me. I said, that's a sculpture of the Pharaoh Ramses III. And he said, oh my God. I said, that's over 4,000 years old and looks identical, just like you. So we were blown away, completely blown away.
And talk about the synchronicities. It's funny how, the universe speaks to us. So you have a company that with the eye is a logo. You even have a dog that's similar to the dogs of Pharaoh. What?
As I kept digging more and more, I had a friend who's here in the States. He's from Israel. And he said, Dexter, he said, your logo that you have for your company, the eye, that you started like over 4 years ago, looks just like the logo from the Pharaoh Ramses III. I said, what are you talking about? What did they have? And they had the Eye of Horus. And I looked at it, I said, oh my goodness, they had an eye as their logo. And my company's logo was an eye. And again, keep in mind, Emily, I found this out about a year ago. But I had my company established for over 4 years before that, my startup. And so I just kept continuing. I said, this is crazy. We actually have the same image, logo. And so I kept digging further and I found out that they had dogs called the Pharaoh Hound, which is in the same family as the dogs that I own called Whippets, which are sight hounds. So they run just as fast, chase small prey. That's what they were bred for. So, and then I continued to look at it further, and I said, wait a minute, what was the Pharaoh Ramses III's name? When I actually looked it up, it was, they had different names, of course, but the name was Seti, S-E-T-I, Seti number 2. That was the Pharaoh Ramses III name. Seti number 1 was his father, the one that was the fought against Moses and the let my people go situation. So Seti number 2 was Pharaoh Ramses III. And I said, wait a minute, my company's name is actually Smart Eye Technology Incorporated. If you take the first letters, Smart Eye Technology Incorporated, it comes out to SETI. That blew my mind. I said, this is insane. So everything connected. And I'll never forget, Emily, my first trip to Israel in 2015, I went to the Negev Desert and I felt so comfortable in a Negev Desert. I remember saying to myself, I feel like I could live here. But when I did more research, I found out that the Pharaoh Ramses III spent years in the Negev Desert trading. So again, these are all things I'm learning, and I felt like so much at home, and I just realized why.
Wow, it's incredible. So obviously you're still on your learning journey of, what this all means, but what is it like to kind of be this person who happened to get a test, discover this, and now we're also learning a little bit about what pharaohs look like. We have images from the 10 Commandments, as you noticed, but what does this tell you? What do you want to do with this information?
I think it's all still learning. I'm still learning. If you saw the image of how I look just like the Pharaoh Ramses III, every day when I look up in the mirror, I look in the mirror and I just see myself and I said, this is crazy that this image that I see is identical to me. And this was from 4,000 years ago. So I'm still shocked every day when I wake up and look at it.
Thank you so much, Dexter. Next time we'll interview you right here in studio when you get to Israel. Much appreciated.
Okay. But you got something else happening at the same time. As the Muslim wars of genocide and ethnic cleansing has taken place in the Nile Valley with the Mamluk Turks and the Seljuk Turks, and then finally the Ottoman Turks by the 9th century and the end of the 9th century, beginning of the 10th century. They're pushing millions of people out of the Nile Valley into West Africa. Y'all hear what I'm saying? They're pushing millions of people out of the Nile Valley into West Africa, in through Chad, in through Cameroon, into Nigeria, down into Ghana. This population, through what is called Burkina Faso, this is the population of the people. Everybody always asks, what happened to the Egyptian? Well, we're talking to each other here right now, okay?
Did you know that the Washington Monument is based upon an ancient African structure called a tekken that comes from the mythology of Asar, Arset, and Heru, who the Greeks called Osiris, Isis, and Horus? Did you know that the panther deity Bast in the movie Black Panther and Wakanda Forever comes from an ancient African deity, a neter in ancient Egypt, ancient Kemet, called Bastet? Did you know that there were 17 pyramids found buried underneath Egypt around 2011? Also, the city of Memphis, Tennessee. What's the relationship between Memphis, Tennessee and Memphis in ancient Egypt? I'm historian and national political commentator Michael Imhotep. Be sure to register for my new 12-week online history course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. Kemet is one of the original names for Egypt. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Did you know that the word Wakanda is a real word? We find it in the Key Congo language, which is a Bantu language, but we also find it in the Omaha Ponca and Sioux Indian Native American languages. My class starts up Saturday, March 1st, 2025, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a 12-week online history course. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. When we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, we can't start our studying of the history in 1619 in Hampton, Virginia, or in Jamestown. We can't start in 1441 with the transatlantic slave trade starting with the Portuguese. We have to deal with thousands of years of history that leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We'll deal with the 800-year occupation of Europe by the Africans known as the Moors, who take the teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe, and this is what brings Europe out of the Dark Ages. Support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show, through Cash App, through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. Here's our QR code for Cash App right here, the bottom of the screen. The information is also on our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for the online classes that I teach. We do the classes live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. So you can go back and watch it anytime. You don't have to join us live in the class. And then you can download you can order my DVD lectures and digital downloads of my presentations as well. So that all will help you and help us as well. Yeah, we know African American History Month is coming up also. Follow us. I just shut down I just deactivated my TikTok account because I ain't doing TikTok. I don't know if I'll go back to it. I'm not sure. But I have downloaded Fanbase, so I'm setting up Fanbase also. Everybody download Fanbase, set that up. That's an African American owned and operated social media platform owned by Isaac Hayes III. Okay, so you can support us here. Register for the online classes I teach Saturdays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Register right here for it. You can do a debit card, credit card, or PayPal. Download the our class lesson plan here. We have our Cash App right here, $ the AHN Show. So if you type it into Cash App, type in the full tag, $ the AHN Show, SHOW, because there's some fake ones out there, and they'll come up before you type in all of it. Okay. Ours, it will say Michael, and it may show my picture there. Okay. So we have a QR code here, and this shows it also right here, this graphic here. And then paypal.me/the AHN Show through PayPal. And I know through PayPal, you can set it up for a recurring contribution if you want to. We definitely appreciate that as well. I can't remember if you can do that set up for a recurring contribution through Cash App. Okay. All right. Look, we have to get out of here. Hopefully you learned a lot today, because this is a lot of work to put all this together. Hopefully you learned a lot today. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And